Hello, wonderful journeyers. I'm going to answer a question in this video, that being, what's the difference between imagination when you journey and an on-point psychic mystical message? So I'm going to speak to my version of the difference between those two things. So how do you know that this isn't your imagination, that it's a mystical message? And for me, I guess this is perhaps the biggest, most subtle secret that exists in this relative reality, and is a very important definition to distinguish between when we're in our journey space, because practicing it, and when you're first starting to develop your mind energy, you want to lean towards using the imagination. That is exactly what you want to feel that you are doing, that you're using your imagination and you're creating this journey, this relationship. You are exploring what your imagination can do, and that reveals your unconscious map of your metaphysical space, I guess. Everything that happens in your journey will be a reflection of your unconscious mind. And to reveal all those parts of yourself, we use the tool of imagination to get us into that space, to navigate around. Because in the imagination, we can imagine a path. Then we can imagine walking up the path. Once you've developed this skill to a certain level, there was for me a very clear change in one of my journeys. So I would use my imagination, do it all, la 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 la. And I think I had moments of flitting between, metaphysical, psychic, and using my imagination. I just hadn't distinguished the difference between the two. My awareness hadn't clocked. But there was one journey where it was undeniable, okay? Something else came into the journey and stopped me. So I was no longer able to move my imagination. Let's say I was on a path in my imagination, I was walking up the path, but something stopped me. And my imagination, I couldn't, with my imagination, move myself forward anymore. And that was the difference. I stopped becoming the mover and I was being moved. So it was very clear that another energy had come in, stopped me, and then took me and moved me somewhere else. And then I was extremely excited in this journey. I remember it so well because it was my moment of clarity. It was my experience of then source and a higher power. Because up until then, I'd been using my imagination, hoping that I would get to that point, hoping that there would be spirits here, that there would be teachers here, that there would be energies outside of what I knew as my energy in this space. But I didn't know that. I wasn't sure. I hadn't had the experience and the clarity of this happening. So this journey was extra special for me because it happened and I went, it was like the computer of a car suddenly taking over the car when you're at the driver's seat and you're going, is anybody else noticing that this car's driving itself? Look, I'm not touching it. I'm not doing this. It was that kind of euphoric, excited moment where I went, this is it, let's go, strap in. I'm being driven. And it was a life-changing moment. It really was, because up until then, I didn't know. And that's what I want for everyone journeying with me to experience. I don't want anyone to take my word for this. I don't want you to just believe that everything I'm saying. One of the things that I find a little bit off about spiritual teachings sometimes, especially when it gets to metaphysical things and things that we can't see, because some teachers out there just take the view, well, you can't see it, and I'm just going to tell you this is how it is. And you better believe me because I know and I've been there. And it's a bit spiritual superiority stance of, I know you don't follow the rules. I don't, that doesn't resonate with me. I don't feel that in my heart. I prefer to say, question the rules. Don't take anybody's word for it, and make sure that it is experienced by your consciousness. That is the only way to go from hoping to faith to knowing. That's the only journey to mystical mastery, is don't take my word for it. Take the commitment to stepping into the I don't know, finding out that piece for yourself, and not believing me. Don't believe me. Always seek the confirmation for yourself. And I don't want you to believe me. I want you to question, to ask questions, to inquire into yourself. And that's the most important piece for me. And that is, we're all growing together. Nobody knows it all. And I certainly don't. I'll hold my hands up and say the metaphysical space is so big and so vast and so complex. Of course, I don't know everything. I can tell you my experience and hope for you to experience that in your own way, in your own style, using your own consciousness. Bit of a sidetrack there. So, my journey of when energy came in and started moving me. And that was my experience of knowing. That's when I knew. That's when I went, oh my goodness, it's happened. And, by the way, nobody told me that this was going to happen. It had been, I wonder, until that point. And what was interesting that happened after this point, I had a very interesting battle with power after this. Because after that journey, I held in my system the experience of power. And I thought, this is the metaphysical mastery. This is the spirits now working with me. I felt like I passed a test, that they showed themselves now to me, and that I passed. Then the next time I was working with a client and I came to journey, I had this big conflict because I wanted it to happen again. And then there was a fear of it being taken away. And I remember having this internal battle with myself going, well, what happens if they don't come back in? What happens if I don't have this experience again? What happens if I feel like I've lost my power? What happens if I feel like I've lost this ability? And I had this really weird journey between myself and myself. There was a part of me that almost wanted to make a contract. And I started going, well, what if I make a deal with Spirit and I say, I'll do extra prayers, I'll do extra dispatchos, I'll make sure that I honour you, I will be your slave, I'll do this, that and the other, and I will pray every day and I'll do everything, and just to make sure that I got this power. And it was almost coming from a place of greed and selling my soul a little bit. And it was because that experience of being moved and working with the higher powers was so euphoric, my human self wanted to make sure that I was going to get that every single time. I wanted to know that that was okay. And I was very close. I managed to pull myself back and away and down, remind myself of the techniques that I teach in my course, and took a moment, came back into myself and said, actually, I'm enough. I don't need to make a contract to feel powerful and superior, and I'm okay just as I am, having each experience in each moment. And I don't mind if I never have that experience again, if I don't ever have these abilities ever again, that I am whole, divine and complete, just not finished, and I'm enough. And with that, the desire flew away and I carried on with the session. And I have had other moments in my life where I went, what would it have been like if I'd have contracted myself into that deal? And I still wonder today, because that was a clear choice. Do I go this way? Do I go this way? And perhaps a huge test for me in the metaphysical space. Perhaps it was a massive test as to who I am, the consciousness that I am with, what my soul is, what my abilities is. And I've no idea whether it was right or wrong. I don't really believe in right or wrong. I just believe in effective and ineffective. And that you can always renegotiate. So I can always go back and renegotiate that should I feel it was an ineffective decision, that I do want that. But at the moment, I don't think so. I think that's an old paradigm that humanity is moving away from. And we're double checking that we're not after power and glory, that it's now service to others, togetherness, acceptance, acknowledging that I am whole and that I already am everything that I'll ever need to be in the metaphysical space. And I don't need it. For me, it would have been weak to need the power outside of me. And I came back down into, I'm enough. I am the power. Whatever happens. And I stand by that decision, and that's a decision that I would make again. And I have continued to do my work in the metaphysical space, grow, change. And yes, of course, I do give offerings. I do dispatcher works. I give offerings. But I said, and I am a slave to I'm already a slave to the shamanic work. So, but on my terms, that it wasn't I had to give a dispatch show every single day because it was in this contract. I went into myself and I said, I want to make offerings when I'm feeling the call to do so, when I'm feeling pulled to do so, not because I'm getting something back from it, just because I genuinely feel love and appreciation, and I want to honor the energy and the spirits for this work. Not because it's a whoosh, you have to do this, otherwise you won't get your power, blah, 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 blah. I didn't step into that space. And I think each individual will have perhaps their version of being tested by our own subconscious and by the energy, by the metaphysical space. There will be tests in the metaphysical. and there will be choices. This physical dimension is that of choice. We do have free will and choice. So the difference between imagination and other spirits coming in is very clear. Okay? Extremely, extremely clear. If you're not sure, it's still your imagination. If there's an energy that comes in, it will be irrefutably there. And it's not something, again, that you need to get freaked out about, that you need to get scared about, because, so let's say that an entity came in, started to move you, took you somewhere where you didn't want to go. For me, that would be not wanting to look at something, a mirror about yourself. But if you're at all scared, worried, you would just open your eyes. That reason, you are in control of your journey at any time, because you can come back into yourself and open your eyes. There's at no point in the journey are my eyelids glued shut and I'm physically taken over. No, that's really difficult to happen. My belief about it is, yes, spirits can move physical objects in this reality, but it really zaps their energy. Very, very difficult for them to do, and they won't be able to hold it up. And really, coming into this realm that far is pretty much impossible. That's like us portaling 100% there into their realm and doing it. We're working in the metaphysical, in that space in between. Both of us are meeting there. There really isn't a crossover with them coming completely here and us going completely there. Never speak in absolutes, but extremely, extremely rare. I guess the farthest that we go over that way is near-death experiences, when people die for 20 minutes. Things like that. So if you're at all worried in your journey, just open your eyes. That will keep you then extremely safe. Nothing can happen. If you're unsure, open your eyes, come back. If you can't move the journey, is what I'm saying, if you've been moved. The other tell sign is things stick. So you might not be moved, taken completely to somewhere else and shown something else. It might just be that you are moving on your journey in your imagination. Let's say you're going down the path, and then there's like a sticky bit where you kind of get paused so that you can't move forward or backwards, and maybe there's something that gets bigger or gets shown to you a few times, and then you're able to use your imagination again and you're able to move on. So I call those bits sticky bits. So it's not that an entity has taken complete control over you, but that it's very clearly showing you something that's a bit sticky. So you're moving along the path and then you can't move because there's something there for you, and then when you've got it, you can continue moving along. Does that make sense? So there is a difference between using one's imagination and being moved. And I will teach you how to know the difference between the two. How to invite in a metaphysical message, how to invite in the spirits to then start taking over and to move in you, because there is a subtle difference and a subtle change, and it is something that we are doing in the journey that makes that happen. It's extremely subtle, and when I came across this piece I went, that's it. That's how it's done. It's as subtle as this, and it's incredible. I was like, oh, that's the difference. I get it. I see. I understand. And that took a long time of working in the metaphysical space to glean that nugget. A very special piece about the metaphysical journey, because that's the crux and the difference of it. That's what makes you a metaphysical master, to be able to differentiate between, yes, you use your imagination. All of what comes in your imagination will be from your unconscious, a message from you for self-discovery. Nothing is random. Nothing is out of place. It is all a message for you. But when you start working with other people and you're wanting to do work and readings for other as well as for yourself, then you need to know this very slight subtle difference between shifting from using your imagination and then asking the spirits to come and start working with you and showing you things. Because there's a huge difference between having a spirit then move you. And then it happens quite regularly. And then you're in the place of, now I can really learn on the job. That was the difference for me, for being, if it's a language, just learning basic words and being very stagnant in the language, to, okay, now I'm semi-fluent, I can go to the country and I will be able to learn more of the language just by speaking it and really absorbing in it. The way that we start out just using the imagination is very basic language. But when I teach you how to do the other piece, then even if you go then to we've got 3 worlds in cosmology, the upper world, the middle world, the lower world. And technically we use different worlds for different things. So I might go to the lower world for soul retrieval, but then I started to being moved to the upper world. So it was like my imagination then isn't doing it. I'm being moved by the spirits. They went, no, you've come to the wrong world. Up to the middle world, or up to the upper world. And I was then taken and shown, this is how you do this is how you do this. Because I had the basics, but there were no hard and fast rules. And then I did learn from the Caros. They went, no, actually you can do soul retrieval from the upper world, and this is why. I hadn't been taught that yet, and I've gone, oh, this has already been happening. I'm already being moved to the right world and shown. So it was a really nice confirmation for me that, okay, these are helping me and showing me what to do in the metaphysical space. I had the bare bones, but then I went, I can't get anything wrong, as it were, because I'm going to be shown if I'm doing something that's not effective, I won't be able to go there. They stop you, they stick you, and then they go, shh, here's where you're meant to be, now carry on what you're doing. So there's a lot of help in the metaphysical space when you start using this for healing others and doing mystical work, soul work. There is, if you know this distinction between your imagination and then asking the spirits to show you, you can't get anything wrong if you know how to do this piece. Because it's impossible for you to move along down that track that you can't go down. Okay? Impossible if your sensitivity is there and it's heightened. I would say we can't be in absolutes, that somebody that perhaps isn't trained would just use their imagination the whole entire way and go and do something, and it's like, I guess, then assuming that they know better. No, don't stick me, go away, I'm going to do it like this because this is how I've been taught. Whereas the way that I teach is there can't be any set rules. You need to be in a place of, show me. I don't know everything, please show me. And then we won't be making any mistakes. Then we won't be doing anything that's not meant to be done. If we decide that we know best and we're stubborn and I'm right in this is how I was shown in my training, this is how it must be. Never. There's always Never say never or always, because they're absolutes. But for me, there is always exceptions to the rule. So even if we're taught certain ways by elders and teachers that have been doing it for thousands of years, and it's been passed down from the Incas, and we know the lineage and it's all beautiful, to get stuck in our ways, for me, is dangerous. And that is not journeying the metaphysical to the highest degree. That is not aligned with energy and source. And soul work is stepping into the realms of I don't know, and being student teacher as soon as we get to the metaphysical realm. As soon as we decide that we know everything, we completely closed off to possibility. So it's very important to take the building blocks with you, but to then take an open soul that then says, if there's more here, please show me. Rather than, I know everything that there is to know because I've learnt it this way, and it's very closed and linear. And then you're going to fall into a few problems in the metaphysical space. And that's why the self-development part to this work is also of paramount importance, so that you are self-aware enough to have all the data that you need. So I will be coming on, giving you more information and more goodies and exciting bits about what's coming. Obviously, if you're wanting to learn really in depth all of this stuff, everything that I've learned, it will all be in the upcoming training. So make sure that you get to the webinar, and that will be soon-ish, coming soon. I'm yet to finalise dates and everything, but that will be a nice class on how I developed my mystical abilities, and then some information on my upcoming beta training for anyone that does want to take it further and learn these nuances and learn these subtle developments of, okay, this is my mystical ability, this is my playing ground. So if you're wanting to learn from me and get your shamanic practitioner qualification, then do jump on the webinar or ask any questions. Let me know if you have any questions, or by all means continue updating yourself with these videos, and then jump on the webinar if you've got any questions after the webinar. Then certainly you can let me know. I think that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Mwah! Hope you try.